My name is Adrian Aw. I run the APAC business for PEI Global Partners. PEI is a U.S. investment bank focused on power energy infrastructure. We were only founded in 2021, but today we have around 50 bankers across New York, Tampa, and Hong Kong. So we do a lot of cross-border M&A transactions, bringing Asia investors into the U.S., or within Asia, we work on a lot of Southeast Asia or North Asia transactions. So within M&A, we focus on power energy. As I mentioned, we do a lot of cross-border. Right now, the trend is really for a lot of Asia investors to invest into the U.S. So I work closely with my colleagues in New York and Tampa on showing our U.S. opportunities to Asia investors. So I've been in this industry for around 20 years. I've been working with the same team for 10 plus years now. But within this firm, I joined 2 years ago. Balance is about being fully present whenever you are. When I'm working with clients, I focus on delivering the best possible outcome, being thoughtful and insightful. When I'm with my wife and children, I disconnect and give them the same level of attention. Outside of work, family is the most important thing to me. But I also spend time exercising, so that's a good stress reliever. I always say you have to be the best version of yourself in order to help others, and that's both physically and mentally. I'm also the president of a university alumni club and a board member of a charity catered towards children with disabilities in China. These outside interests keeps me grounded and often helps me put things in perspective. I would say stay curious and be kind. Staying curious means that you're constantly learning. The world is changing, technology is improving, there's geopolitical tensions, so you need to be curious to learn, to adapt. So that's one. The other is really being kind. As an investment banker, we're service professionals. So you need to be kind to understand what our client needs, be understanding. Everybody could be having a good day or a bad day, but just be there for them. That's how I always think about when I'm talking to my clients. When I think of data sites, I would say secure, fast. Fast is really important, and partnership. I would say partnership because I've known the team for many years across different firms, and they've been very helpful, not just from a data site, data room provider, but across in the general M&A environment, they've been very helpful.